Coming up today, President Park Geun-hye calls on Korea's rival parties to swiftly endorse a set of bills designed to revitalize the local economy and overhaul the labor sector. Beijing issues its first ever red alert for smog, the most severe warning for air pollution. It means schools will be shut and many cars banned for 3 days. Fireworks and barbecues are no-goes too. But South Korea has chosen to lead the UN Human Rights Council next year. Seoul says it's in recognition of its efforts to promote human rights around the world. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Tuesday, December 8th here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye is putting the squeeze on lawmakers to pass a number of crucial economy-related bills before the current parliamentary session finishes on Wednesday. She told the leaders of the ruling party that it's in their best interest that the bills are passed ASAP, considering general elections are on the horizon. Our National Assembly correspondent Kim Jongun starts us off.
The National Assembly's 100-day regular session ends this Wednesday, but before it does, President Park has pointed out a number of key items that need to be handled. She met with leaders of the ruling Saenuri party to drive her message home.
President Park said Korean companies are finding it hard to compete in the global market due to economic uncertainties, and that Parliament should help businesses by passing economy-related bills. She urged for the Assembly's cooperation.
Rival parties had previously agreed to pass a bill to promote Korea's service industry sector, with the aim of restructuring the local economy, which heavily relies on manufacturing. But the opposition bloc is now concerned that the bill could promote the privatization of healthcare services, which the ruling party denies. There are also 5 labor reform bills that the president stressed needs to be passed before the end of the year.
The purpose of these labor reform bills is to create more jobs for the younger generation. They'll also help improve conditions for irregular workers and employees at small companies. There's no reason for the opposition to deny them.
Negotiations between the two camps were slated to continue in the next extraordinary session. But reaching an agreement won't be easy, with the tension quickly shifting to April's general elections. President Park also made clear to the ruling party leaders that it's high time they passed an anti-terrorism bill. She said public safety was at stake. The legislation, which was proposed in 2001, would put the nation's top spy agency in control of counterterrorism activities. It's faced roadblocks from opposition camps that fear the spy agency could potentially abuse the authority it gives them and infringe on human rights. Kim Jongun, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye has also been calling for improvements in Korea's trade conditions, particularly in regards to exports. The Korean leader made the comments on the nation's 52nd Trade Day. Kwon-swa reports.
With Korea's exports and imports posting sluggish figures this year, it was no surprise that festivities were subdued at the 52nd Trade Day commemoration. President Park Geun-hye, who attended Monday's event, said slow global growth and stronger competition have made things tough.
독일, 미국 등의 제조업 혁신 정책, 불과 3.3년까지 좁혀진 중국과의 기술 격차로 중장기적 무역 여건도 쉽지 않은 상황입니다.
A year ago, participants of the 51st Trade Day were all smiles as Korea's 2014 trade volume exceeded the $1 trillion mark in the shortest span ever. But this year, and for the first time since 2011, Korea is expected to miss the target. So it raises the question, will exports still be the main driving force of Korea's economy? That's why President Park is calling on Korea's trade industry to diversify its export items, expand the role of small and mid-sized firms, and improve its competitiveness in main export sectors.
The FTAs with China, Vietnam and New Zealand are expected to take effect by the end of this year after very strenuous processes. I hope that the trade pacts will act like a vitamin to boost the export market next year.
But experts say it'll take some time before benefits really show.
There are especially high expectations for the Korea-China FTA, but in that case, trade liberalization isn't that high, and tariff eliminations are processed very slow, meaning the effects aren't likely to show up drastically next year.
Despite negative growth in outbound shipments every month this year, President Park pointed out that some significant achievements were made. Korea was ranked the 6th biggest exporter in the world, up a spot from last year, and was able to expand its market share in the world's 2 biggest economies, the US and China, while exports by SMEs continued its rising streak. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Now, China's capital issued its first ever red alert for air pollution on Monday night as it was hit by hazardous levels of pollution for the second time within a week. The alert, the highest on a 4-tier system, will be in place from 7 a.m. on Tuesday, so from around 2 hours from now until noon on Thursday. According to the city's emergency management headquarters, car use will be limited to driving every other day, while 30% of government cars will also be banned from streets on alternating days. Officials say extra subway trains and buses will be added to handle the additional strain on public transport. Schools have been told to suspend classes as well. Outdoor operations of construction sites are banned, and some industrial plants are required to limit or stop production. This is the first time Beijing has issued a red alert for smog since 2013, when the capital city adopted the 4-tier system for air pollution. Now, there are growing concerns emerging markets are going to suffer when the US Federal Reserve pulls the trigger and starts raising rates. In its latest report, the Bank for International Settlements said that weaker financial market conditions mean liftoff will likely have deeply negative impacts on emerging markets. The report explained that further dollar appreciation may fuel rising debt levels in those markets. It says this could pose increased risk to their financial stability, hinder growth and spark rapid inflation in some countries. Now, it seems the strong US dollar is shredding the country's agricultural exports. It's a double whammy as well for farmers in the US, already suffering from a collapse in prices and weaker demand. The Wall Street Journal reports that US federal forecasters project shipments of US wheat will shrink to a 44-year low this season as buyers search for cheaper alternatives. The Agriculture Department expects corn exports will drop to the lowest level in 3 years, while beef and pork exports are down more than 10% by value this year. The US dollar soared last week to a 13-year high against a basket of currencies. Now, since coming to power at the tail end of 2012, North Korean leader Kim Jongun has continually sought to tighten his grip on power. And one of the young leader's methods is to instill fear among his inner circle by purging and executing close aides. For a closer look at the perceived effectiveness of his methods and more, Connie Kim reports.
On December 13, 2013, North Korea announced that Kim Jong-un's uncle, Jang Song-thaek, who was then regarded as the second most influential man in North Korea, had been executed. Experts say Jang's removal successfully consolidated Kim's position after taking power in late 2012.
Back then, Kim's execution of Jang Song-thaek was an extreme method to take control of the regime for 20, 30 years. It was also to prevent any potential uprising against him.
The North Korean leader's elimination of his top aides continues. He had Hyun Young-chul, the country's defense chief, executed in April, and recently sent another of the nation's core elite, Workers' Party Secretary Choi Ryong-hae, to a rural collective camp for so-called re-education. The Seoul-based Institute for National Security Strategy believes nearly 100 high-ranking North Korean officials have been executed since Kim took power some 3 years ago. That's 10 times more than his father, Kim Jong-il, had executed during the first 4 years of his rule. Some experts say that while Kim Jong-un's use of fear politics could generate backlash among officials, North Korean citizens' support for the young leader could contribute in stabilizing the regime.
Kim Jong-un is trying to win the minds of his people by boosting the regime's economy. Support among his people is the most important issue for Kim.
And this is why analysts believe Kim will focus on helping its people live in better economic conditions, possibly making it one of the key agenda items at the ruling Workers' Party's biggest Congress in May. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea has been elected head of the UN body responsible for promoting and protecting human rights around the world. The UN Human Rights Council on Monday appointed Chae Kyung-lim, South Korea's permanent representative to the UN office in Geneva, as its president for a one-year term that begins on January 1st next year. He will replace current President Joachim Wucker of Germany. Now, in a speech, Chae said that over the past 10 years, the Council has accomplished a lot by establishing the framework to promote and protect human rights. He added that now was the time to put it into real effect. This is the first time for South Korea to lead an international human rights organization since the government's establishment in 1948. The US government is rolling out a new terror alert system that is more in tune with today's threats. US Department of Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson says the new system is aimed at better informing Americans about the nation's security posture. Johnson added that details about the new system, the country's third since the 9/11 terrorist attacks, will be announced very soon. The announcement comes less than a week since the mass shooting in Southern California, which the FBI has declared a terrorism investigation. A massive earthquake has hit a sparsely populated mountainous region in Tajikistan on Monday. According to the US Geological Survey, the 7.2 magnitude quake struck the Hindu Kush Mountains at around 12:50 p.m. local time. As you can see, it's rather powerful. Buildings shook as far away as India, Afghanistan and Pakistan, including New Delhi. Initial earthquake was followed by several aftershocks. No casualties or damage have been reported. Now, starting next year, the smarter, faster and more convenient way, to travel around Korea may involve more airtime. Aviation companies are set to begin operating small passenger jets in regional areas. Our EG1 introduces us to the new air taxis.
This is a small regional jet that can sit 50 passengers. With a speed of 900 kilometers per hour, it will reduce what was a 6-hour express bus journey between Yangyang County and Gimhae City to less than an hour. A one-way ticket will cost about $77, approximately twice the bus fare. The company introducing the service will begin operations from as early as next year. It also plans expanding its operations to Jeju Island in time for the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics.
With a speed this fast, it will only take 30 minutes to get anywhere in South Korea, and 50 seats are just right for the Korean market.
Other companies are also jumping into the market. In May, another small air transportation company bought these jets to operate from Ulsan Metropolitan City and Pohang City to Gimpo City. The government is also looking to introduce a similar service for Ulleungdo Island and Heuksando Island within the next 5 to 6 years. This would turn a 5 to 9 hour trip involving trains, buses, and boats to a quick 1-hour plane ride. The government plans to build a short 1,200-meter runway on each island.
The plan is to minimise difficulties in travelling to and from these islands for both residents and tourists, and hopefully boost the domestic economy. Also, it will be of great use in monitoring illegal fishing vessels and rescue actions.
The government says it will seek residents' opinions on the project and will work to minimize environmental damage. 이지원, 아리랑 뉴스.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Goodbye.